Hello, hello, hi everybody. Hello, it is me. Is I. Hi, this is Gail Carriger, and I'm going to be talking about some of the most frequently asked questions that I ever get as an author. And having been an author for almost 2 decades now, I do get these same questions over and over and over again. They are also on my website. You can read them there, but I'm going to talk about each one, and some of them will get a little bit more detail than I tend to give, so that yeah, I can really get into the nitty gritty a little bit about some of these questions that you ask me all the time. So, hi. While we're waiting for the algorithms to do its magic and this to go out into the world, I am hoping you all will comment and say where you're watching from. And if you're watching at all, Facebook is not telling me anything, but I can see the YouTubes. Hello, everybody on YouTube. Lovely to have you. I think this is going to be a quiet little chat because I always have a meeting in the mornings on Saturdays for me, the same day that I do these lives. And I can usually tell by how well that meeting is attended, how well this one will be attended, because it's authors and this is readers, but it's kind of the same arena, and you sort of get a feel to how like busy people are on a weekend. So I think we'll just be a few of us, but I'm hoping we can have a lovely chat. Hello to, it looks like Portland, Chicago, DC, Houston, Olympia, and Tucson all tuning in. Hello, hello, my sweeties. It is so nice to see you and have you watching. Yay, Dick has reported that the Facebook group is here and on and watching. So wonderful. Hi, everybody. Shall we start with the usual Gale minutia, which is we'll talk a little bit about what I'm drinking, and you can tell me what you're drinking. I am drinking out of this little teacup today, and it's a lower caffeine day for me. I've had quite enough already, so I'm having a green tea. And it is called, I think it's called just like the Bangkok green or the Thai green. And honestly, I threw the container away, so I cannot remember who is it. I want to say it's Taylor's of Harrogate, but it is in my Epic Tea post, and I do talk about it quite a bit. It is a current favorite of mine. It's like a green tea with a little bit of lemongrass and some coconut and just a little hint of like a gingeriness to it. It's really nice. For me, extremely drinkable green tea. I don't love greens as a general rule. I like a green with a lot of other stuff going on. The opposite of a black, quite frankly. I like a really mellow black tea and then a really excitable green tea. Anyway, so this one is one of my current favorites. I happen to really love coconut. So pretty much if you put coconut in something, you've probably got me. I'm yours. I'm there. I'm ready. So, yay. Yes, I love this teacup too. It's a pretty simple teacup, but it always goes with whatever I'm wearing. So that's always nice. It's kind of, it's got a very deco, simple pattern on it. It's, I believe it's a Wedgwood. Yeah, it's a Wedgwood. And it's like silver and blue. And what I really love about this is the shape. This is a very satisfying teacup shape for me. Anyway, speaking of which, I mentioned in a cheer up recently, my newsletter, and I can't remember which cheer up it was, but I was talking about how I was on a mug hunt. I do drink tea out of a mug on occasion. I know, shush, don't tell anybody. But sometimes in the morning you need a mug, mostly because a teacup might be too tippy for you when you are quite tired. And who am a former archaeological ceramicist, ceramics are my specialty, take ceramics extremely seriously. And therefore, this hunt has been the work of decades. I'm telling you, I've been looking for a good mug for ages. And I finally found these. And here is the thing I really love about them. Look, all of my fingers fit through the handle, because I am somebody who actually uses the handle on a mug. I know a lot of people are like clutchers of mugs, but I'm not. I'm a handle holder. So I really want that handle to be comfortable and really nice, but I don't want the mug to be too big. A lot of the mugs that have comfortable handles, the mugs are like 16 ounces or whatever, way too big for me. I'm a 12, 13 ounce girly. So anyway, these are my new mugs. I love them very much. I love that they're sort of like matte raw mud stone on the bottom, so they're not slippy at all, but they're still sort of semi-gloss on the interior, so they don't stain as bad. I really like them. I know they look sort of earthy and not Victorian, although frankly, most of the people in the Victorian era, the lower classes would have been drinking out of something not dissimilar to this. So anyway, love my new mugs. Very happy. They come in different colors, and I got 2 of each color so that I kind of have a mix and match situation when I have guests over. Everybody knows which color their mug is. So that's ceramic talk with your author, Gail Carriger. Sorry about that. We had to. The other thing we have to do is talk about my lipstick, because if I don't talk about it, somebody always asks. This one is a Korean lipstick today. It's by a brand called Lily by Red, which I truly love, and I truly think does the best lipsticks out of Korea. People will tout, I don't know, Fui or Hint or, Destique, all these other brands. I really think Lily by Red does the best lipstick by a long shot. This is their cherry dark red color. Almost every Korean brand only does one dark red, and it's usually cherry, which is my preference. It means it's sort of pink leaning, and so I tend to really like them. But this will last, if I am lucky, the length of this presentation or this talk, our chat. It will last, and then it will be gone by the end. So this is not a long wearing lipstick. It's just for short periods of time, but I do love it. I think it's very fine colored. It's nice and shiny. So, with the minutia out, it looks like we have more people saying hi, hello everybody. We have some people drinking afternoon dessert. Good afternoon, dear Gail. Good afternoon, everybody. Hi from Toronto. Hello, Toronto. Everybody's yes. I'm wearing all I'm very accessoried up because it's quite warm in here today, so I had to wear a really light top, and it's very plain top. So I was like, I must put on. Look, this one has a tassel. I love a tassel. Anyway, so I put on glitzy accessories to sort of distract from how plain my top is. Can I tell you? I mean, again, I know some of you have come over from Madame Askew, and so you wouldn't mind a moment of me telling you about this fabric because it is new to me. So I have been a thrifter. My mom's a very good seamstress. I am not a very good seamstress. I'm a very good tailor, but I'm not a very good seamstress. And so I'm familiar with different fabrics and stuff like that. And I was out thrifting and I found this top, and it's cute. It has a puffy sleeve. I was like, oh, perfect for a hot summer day. And then I looked at the material. I was like, well, it feels like a sort of a muslin-y cotton, but it's really sort of stiff for a muslin weight cotton. I was like, what's going on with this top? And it said ramp, R-I-M-P-E, or Rami, R-A-M-I-E. Ramp is a different thing. Rami on the label. And I have never heard of this fabric before. And so I immediately thought, oh, someone's coming up with another clever name for polyester again. No, it turns out Rami is in fact a fabric. It is made from nettles. Nettles, the kinds of nettles that you can eat and also sting you occasionally. That's what this is made from, and I am delighted. So now I have to go around wearing this blouse and bragging to everybody that I'm wearing nettle fiber. Thrilling. Turns out it's a really cool, sustainable fiber out of India in general, but other parts of the world make it too, and very strong, very durable, very light. So look out for it. It's fun times. Fun times with new discoveries of materials with the material scientist. I love this kind of thing. And now we should probably start talking about frequently asked questions. So I'm gonna go through the ones I have, and then if you have additional ones that you feel like, oh goodness, why does nobody ask Gail that question? You should ask that question. But let us begin with the frequently asked question that I get the most as an author. And to do that, I'm going to have to click away from the screen. So hopefully everything stays good. All right. So this is genuinely the first question I usually get, which is, what are you writing now? Or what are you publishing next? Or what book do you have coming out next? So I will answer that question, which does put a temporal timestamp on this chat we're having. It is Saturday, July 11th, 2026. So the information I am about to impart will be immediately outdated, but let's talk about what I'm working on right now. I am working on the next book in this series. So this is currently just the one book in the series. And by series, it means that it is the next book temporally that would take place after this one, and there are crossover characters. It is not the same main characters, though. It's a totally new set of characters. And while I say it is the next book, it is actually the next books. It's going to be two, everybody. There'll be two new books. So it's Parasolverse. These books are in the Parasolverse, and it is Biffy and Lyle's pack and members of their pack. So this is a one lesser member of the pack is the main character in the new book. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but I have finished the rough draft, which means there's a lot of editing to do because it's longer than normal. It took me longer than normal, and I had to stop and start quite a bit. So it needs quite a bit of smoothing and passes and stuff. So, but it is done, which means I can talk about it, which means it is really going to happen. The rough draft is the hardest part for me. So I kind of try not to tempt fate by talking about it until I'm done with that rough draft. So we're done. So we can talk about it. It's going to be a Claw and Courtship book or books. And so I say books because it's probably easiest to divide it into two. And that way I can get the first half out to you faster. And then while the second half is being put into production, so being edited and everything. So, but I will do the initial editing and the developmental edit as one book, just because I want to make sure it's nice and smooth all the way through. But then I will release it as two books. So get ready. That's what's happening. Very exciting as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, it's super thrilling after the last couple of years that I have had to actually be able to turn my attention to and think about actually bringing out a book. I'm also working on a nonfiction book that's called Going Hybrid. That's going a little slower, partly because the business side of being an author is really chaotic right now with AI and everything like that. So I'm not quite sure how quickly obsolete the information I'm trying to impart in that book, because it's about the business of being an author. So I'm sort of editing it and working on it, but also keeping an eye on what's going on out in the world right now. And so that's why I haven't really been pushing on the nonfiction as much as maybe some people think I should. But yeah, so those are the two that I'm working on right now. So it's a Parasolverse book. And then for those of you who are interested in San Andreas Shifters, that one's kind of to bed at the moment. If I feel like I want to pick it up and write another one in that series, I can, but right now I have no intention. And then the Tinkered Stars universe, which is the Tinkered Star Song and the like Fifth Gender and all those. There's other books in that. There's the follow-up to Cardrat and the follow-up into Fifth Gender that I could work on next. And then there's also another series in that universe that I have started, but needs to be reworked for the first book. So lots of things in the hopper. Excited to be back, I have to say. Really, really excited to be back. All right. Somebody said my shirt is a fairy tale shirt because it's made of nettles. All right. Somebody is complaining that this is going to have a changeless style cliffhanger in the middle, and you better believe it. It's possible it could be worse than the changeless cliffhanger. But here's the thing. You all have been through a cliffhanger with me before. Therefore, I feel like I can give you a cliffhanger. It'll be okay because you know the rest of it is written and it will come out. So don't worry about it. Your option, of course, is to not read the first one, but to wait until they're both out, and then there won't be a cliffhanger. But you have to have self-control under those circumstances, right? Oh, the serious decisions will be afoot. But we're putting the cart before the horse because we're not there yet. But it will happen. All right. The second question I get all the time is, will there be more of the manga? So here is the third book in the manga. Here is the omnibus of all three of the manga together. All of the manga editions were called Soulless. So it was Soulless Volume 1, Soulless Volume 2, and Soulless Volume 3. We stopped at Volume 3 for lots of reasons. I did a whole blog post about it. But one of those reasons is the artist had been working on this universe for me for many years at this point, and she wanted to do something else that was more original and was more her artwork, which totally understandable. And I wasn't wild about moving on with a different artist, so that was part of it. The next book in this series to be adapted would have been Heartless. Alexia is very pregnant in that book. So I think it would have been challenging to adapt as a manga anyway. I mean, name a manga in which the main character is 9 months pregnant. I can't think of one, which isn't to say it doesn't exist, and it isn't to say we couldn't have broken ground, but it was, especially at the time, which was a decade ago, extremely unusual. So I think that's another reason that we didn't get a third one. And there were a couple other reasons as well, which elude me because it was 10 years ago. But so the answer is no. So far as I and everyone else is concerned, the adaptations into manga form ends with Blameless. But I've always felt that the first 3 books in the Parasol Protectorate series hold together as a trilogy anyway. So I'm not particularly fussed about it. I've said it before, and I said it recently when I was launching the omnibus, that I really feel like the manga was my best experience in publishing ever. And it remains that way. And I'm kind of happy with that. And so, weirdly, I'm happy with the 3-book adaptation of the manga because it was such a satisfying experience from the back end as well as the front. So, yeah, so the 3-book manga is what we have. And frankly, so few authors get graphic novel adaptations that I'm disposed to be pleased and delighted regardless. The next question I always get is, in what order should my books be read? In other words, do we start with Soulless, which was the first one written, or Etiquette and Espionage, which chronologically is the first series? So this comes first in the world, in the universe. This one comes second. But this one was written first, and this one was written second. Oh, Gail is so tricksy. Sorry, everybody. The answer is, it's kind of up to you. I tend to say read them in world chronology. So read the Finishing School first. It's also the YA series. So if you're younger, it's the better one to start with. But a lot of people prefer to read starting with Soulless. And Soulless was the heavy hitter. It did begin everything. So it does make sense to start that way. But to be fair, you know, there are options. You could argue about it in the comments. It's funny because I don't know what the experience is like starting with one or the other. In fact, I don't know what the experience is like just reading my books at all, right? Because I've written them. So I've read all of my books many times over, sometimes in great frustration. So I don't think I'm really the right one to make a call on this one, but so far it seems to have fallen on a 50-50 spread which one to start with. And then there are, of course, people who start with this series, and that's fine too. And they identify themselves, and I'm very excited to meet them because it's unusual. And that brings us to the next question, which is, will there be more in these specific series? So there are 5 books in this series. Will there be a 6th book with Alexia? There are 4 books in this series. Will there be a 5th book with Sophronia? And there are 4 books in this series. Will there be a 5th book with any one of the characters that I had as main characters in the series? And the answer is probably not in those cases. I don't really like to rule anything completely out, but all of the contracts with the traditional publishers have been satisfied with these various series. And the characters do show up at later points in their lives in other books that I've written, this one in particular. So you get to see them, and you get to see them checked in upon. They're just not the main characters anymore. And I'm pretty happy with that choice and that decision. I really pride myself on the endings of my books. I think I take a lot of time to make sure I tie things up. They really flow easily for me. I have the voice of the main characters really well by the time the last book rolls around. So I think I do as good a job as I can, given what an ensemble cast I tend to use, which is my own fault, in writing the final books for you. And so I hope my endings are satisfying. I know you want more of your very beloved characters, but I'm pretty happy with where I rest them at the end of their series. So I don't imagine anytime soon I will be substantially picking any of those main characters up again, but you do get to see them in lots of other books. So don't worry about it. I'm just checking in, making sure everything's all right. So people are sharing that they read me and other authors and who they switch back and forth between, which is very cute. I'm charmed. Some people want to see books with both characters in them, and I or with multiple of these characters in them, and those also do happen, and not necessarily on screen. There's a couple. Meet Cute has an incident where Sophronia-ish and Alexia are sort of on screen together. At least they're both in the same short story. I have thought about doing short stories where it's like teenage. What was the holidays like with teenage Prudence and Dama and Alexia and Lord Macan like horning in on the vampire raising their child and that sort of situation. I think those sort of chaotic scenes would be really fun to write, but haven't felt the like particular drive to do so. So it is an option. There is an option to do more, but probably not a major installments. The other thing is I would have to go back to my publishing house for any of those, and you never know what life is like at the publishing house or if you want to reboot something like that. Sometimes they're willing and sometimes they're not. All right, the next most frequently asked question that I get is, where is the ebook, audio, or print version of the thing? Fill in the gap. And actually, right now, most of my stuff, whether it's short story or full-length novel or shorter, anything in between, is in all three formats. You just have to sometimes hunt a little bit. Not necessarily all over the world, but generally speaking, you can get everything I do eventually in digital, print, physical, and audio. I really try to make that happen. It is spendy and time consuming, but I really, really try because I know you guys love your formats and you love the format that you love. And I try to make it so that you have the format that you want out there in the world. Sometimes audio in particular takes some time. So right now, this question is, they're all there. Sometimes it's because there's like contract negotiations with translation rights or audio rights or something. The audiobooks in particular in the UK go like in and out of whether they're available in whatever streaming service you want to listen to them on. And I have no control over the audiobooks of the traditionally published series. And so there's not a whole lot that I can do about that. I would write to or try to contact the publisher. I'm sorry, that's a terrible answer. But if you're having a problem trying to get the audiobook of the traditionally published stuff, there's not a lot I can do about it. I'm so sorry. We just had a Savannah, hello. But Australia also has some challenges getting the audiobooks and the print editions sometimes, which unfortunately, I'm sorry, for Down Under, they are all too familiar with, I know. Okay. The next common question, and this one actually still happens, crazily enough, is why can't I get the English language book, usually ebook, overseas? And the answer to that is, especially again with traditional publishing, the different territories buy the rights to the book in their territory, in their like locus of control. So when France buys the translations rights, they're sort of buying the right to publish in that country. And so then the English language one will become much harder to get a hold of because the French language one is coming. And I understand that they're two different things and that there are people who want to read it, even though they may be in France, they want to read it in English. Germany is particularly renowned for this. The Germans like to read in the original English language often. And it's just a matter of copyright and intellectual property and the way the structure of contracts are, unfortunately. So it's getting easier and easier, I think, to get the English language editions, but apparently not, because I did just get this question recently. So there are still places in the world where it's just really hard to get the English language editions, and I'm so sorry, and I wish I could help you. All of my stuff that I publish, all of the tie-in novellas and all those sorts of things, all the science fiction, that's all available to all territories off of my website, if nowhere else. So you can always get the ebook directly from me. But unfortunately, the original 3 series can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. And that just has to do with rights protection, unfortunately. The next question I get is how can I get an ARC of the next book? So if you are an ARC reader or a NetGalley person or whatever, you're curious about that book I was talking about at the beginning that's going to be coming out, but hopefully end of this year, beginning of next, the first one anyway. Um, and can you get an ARC for early review or to talk about on your blog or in your TikTok or whatever? And the answer is I don't really do that anymore, and it's not because I don't want to. It's just because it's really complicated. It's complicated to arrange it so I get all of the books ahead of time and then mail them out to everybody, and they can get them in time to read them. Like I would have to put production forward a really long way. It's just difficult. And I haven't noticed any like uptick in like pre-ordering or anything in conjunction with that. Now I haven't hit it with a major like booktuber or a book blogger or anything like that. So it's possible that I just haven't experienced what could happen. But on the off chance that it will happen, it's really not worth my time in trying to facilitate that. So that's why I don't really do advanced reader copies. I do advanced reader copies digitally. So for example, my street team and my beta readers and anybody who's like part of my collective brain of awesomeness that helps bring the book out into the world, they all get copies early of the digital edition at the very least. That's about where my capacity is. If I, had a full team or whatever, I may be able to make it happen better. But you can always ask for an ARC. And if it is traditionally published, you can always ask for an ARC. Like they give ARCs out all the time. So if and when I ever do traditionally published again, then yeah, there's always an ARC possibility. Frankly, the easiest thing to do always is just drop me a calling card. But yeah, the other thing is I always release these guys, the independently published stuff, the stuff I do myself. It always gets released early. So if you order it directly from me and you're on my like newsletter, you can get it early. It usually can be a week. Sometimes it's as much as 2 weeks early if you're really jonesing to read the next Gail book. That is one way to get it ahead of time. I get a lot of questions about the audiobooks. I addressed it a little bit, but there's a whole, if you Google Gail Carriger, where is the audiobook, then, there's a whole blog post about it. I talked about the fact that they take quite a bit longer to produce, and there's lots of reasons. And I talk about that in that blog post. So I'm not going to really delve into it right now. I think those of you who are big audiobook consumers, you understand, it has to go to the narrator has to read it, has to go through quality assurance. Obviously the narrator has to have the finished version of the book. So a lot of the other parts of the publication process can sort of take place, like cover art design and stuff, without the absolute finished version. But the read from the narrator does need the finished version. So they can't really start reading until like the book is pretty much done. And so then you have to, if it's a good narrator, you have to book them. The popular ones have other things they're reading first, that kind of thing. So yeah, the audiobooks always take a lot of time. Amy asks how you become a beta reader. I do get this question a lot. You're right. It's a frequently asked question. The answer is I stealthily fleece my newsletter occasionally. So the ultimate answer is always take a survey that Gail gives you in a newsletter, because you never know if she might be looking for a new beta reader. But I actually have had the same beta readers now for over a decade. They've stuck with me. They're awesome. They always catch mistakes. I've never regretted a beta read. Generally speaking, my beta readers, because I pay for a developmental editor and a proof editor, my beta readers are mostly looking for in-world consistency, because I do write in these massive universes. And so they're checking to make sure if I mention a character just briefly that I describe that character correctly in conjunction with all the previous books. So it's kind of a hefty consistency job that the beta readers do, but they're very good at it. And boy, are they about to go through the ringer, because this new book spans all of the previous books in the Parasolverse and a massive length of time, and it checks in and out of all of these different characters. And so my beta readers are going to be cursing me, for which I beg their forgiveness, but they are great. So yeah, the answer, I currently don't need any new beta readers, but you never know, because they do go in and out. But yeah, and then I ask for a whole set of skill set from beta readers in terms of what technology you can use, how in order to interface in such a way that is easiest to make sure that the book is being cross-checked correctly. So there's also a level of technological capacity that beta readers need to have. Yeah, my beta readers are great. I have one who does not have English as her first language, and that's actually a huge asset for me as well, since I have so many readers who are in a similar vein that English is not their first language. And so, but I write like a very juicy use of English. So I need to make sure that it is still understandable for people who maybe don't have, a native speaker's capacity for the language. All right, checking in on everyone again. Oh, always a reminder, as Amy demonstrates on Facebook, if you could please put a question mark at the beginning of your question. That way I know it's for me. It's not you guys chattering, but also allows me to sort of scan through the questions and see. Oh, and there we have another one. Kay asks if I would consider writing a long version of marine biology, Alex and Marvin's story. Oh, that's very sweet. I'm so glad you like that story. I love those two characters. Um, it is a very quick read. It was always written and intended to be a short story, so I had never really thought about expanding it, although it would be fun. But yeah, so that's kind of a non-answer, but that is the answer. The answer is I don't think so, but I'm not opposed. I'm always open to suggestions. Right, back to the standard FAQ. All right, the next question I get all the time is, can I recommend something for you to read while you wait for me to write whatever the next book is that you're very excited for me to be writing? Generally speaking, the answer to that question for the Parasolvers is this book. People ask me, what should I read that is most like Gail Carriger's Parasolvers in tone? If nothing else, it's Sorcery and Cecilia. I recommend this book constantly. Most of you who read it have confirmed to me that it is kind of in the same companion, but there are, in fact, multiple discussions. So the Facebook group has a long thread and a file document attached to the group that basically is a big list of recommendations of other books. And then if you Google Carriger, Gail Carriger, what should I read next, or what should I read while Gail types, I have a blog post where I try to figure out what it is you might like about the way I write or what I write, and then give you recommendations based on that. So like if you like Victorian set stuff, if you like the silliness and the humor, but this is the one that I think kind of most hits as many same notes as my kind of as the Parasolverse in particular. And then I did the same thing. So there's a recommendation for the San Andreas Shifter universe, and then there's a recommendation for the Tinker Starsong universe. Although I will say it is hard to find things that are exactly like what I write, because I do tend to write such genre mashups of lots of different core tropes and archetypes from various different subgenres within a parent genre. So it's hard to find other authors that like do all the same, exactly the same thing that I do, but I do my best. So there are some blog posts out there for you. I'll put links of this in the comments on the YouTube video in particular. I'll try to do the Facebook, but it's really fighting me these days. But again, you can find links to everything on the Gail Carriger FAQ, which is just on my website, and is in fact linked in the video description. Right. We're on to number 10, and we're about halfway through, so we're doing well, I think. The next question I get a lot is, can I get a signed copy of a book or a book plate, if not a signed copy? And the answer to that is, you can find me in person and I'll sign the book. I will sign all the books. You can always bring any book I have written. Sometimes you can be books by other people and I'll still sign them if you really want me to. I'm not fussed. I've signed quite a few of Sherry Priest's books. She's signed quite a few of mine. We have a little game going. Anyway, all of which is to say, yes, I will sign any book. If I and you happen to be at the same place, I will sign the books. And I don't mind if you have a big stack. Sometimes the people controlling the line will make you go back to the back of the line, and then I'll sign again. But I will sign. I will stay at whatever location I am at and sign until everything has been signed. It's one of my kind of, I don't know, like personal reader contracts, I guess. if you've taken the time to come and see me in person, then I will try to make it as worth your while as possible. So I always try to do that. However, I understand that I am not everywhere and I can't get everywhere, and neither can you. So if I'm going to be at a bookstore, you can usually order a book signed from that bookstore. So you can call ahead of time. And so this, again, in the cheer up, I always put where I'm going to be. And then the bookstores will often like mail them to you, all that sort of a thing. Depending, India bookstores, the smaller and more niche and indie the bookstore, the more likely they are to cater to your whims. So, you know, and I do try to do signing at small indies a lot. So that is one way to get a book signed, is to have an indie bookstore have me sign it when I am there, and then they will mail it to you. So that's one option. And then when I did the Subterranean special editions, they're always signed. The illustrated edition of Soulless is already signed, and that is physically signed, not stamped. It's actually signed. I signed 10,000 of those books, so they're all signed. And oh, yes. This is Sorcery and Cecilia by Reed and Severmer. My number one recommended book. I'm sorry. Backtrack briefly. Signing. And I do book plates. I do not do book plates very often. Historically, I've done book plates via the newsletter. So I'll just offer, say, 200 of them, and they're like $3 or whatever for 2 or 3 of them, or I can't remember what I did. And that's just to cover time signing them all, and then time paying Kelly to like mail them all and stuff like that. And then of course postage and everything. So I just throw them up as like, you can buy however many you want signed book plates. So I will do that. Sometimes I'll do that like around Christmas time or whatever, because I know people are like buying books and wanting to give them as gifts. And I will usually do it when there's large stretches of time where I haven't traveled very much. So I haven't gotten out to see you. So I feel like you probably need some signed book plates. But it is not often at all. But it is another, like, that is a very specific perk of the newsletter. You have to be on the newsletter to get that. And they almost always sell out just via the newsletter. So I never go public at all with it. So yeah, if you are interested in specifically in signed book plates that can be mailed to you and you can then stick them in the book, that is the only way those ever happen. And it has been a while. So if you're really eager for that, drop me a calling card or an email or something, or reply to the cheer up and tell me, yes, I want book plates, because I don't know. I never know. What am I doing with my life, everybody? The next question I get all the time is, what age group best suits my books? And the answer to that is the youngest reader I know about was 8 and the oldest was 95. So that is the age bracket. There it is. And the young adult series, the Finishing School series, usually has, because it's traditionally published, it has the recommended age bracket both in its listing online and on the book itself. I think it is 9 to 11. I think that's what they recommend for it. And then the adult books, I mean, I think these are for adults, but I have definitely had younger readers read them. Soulless won the Alex Award, which is an adult book most likely to appeal to younger readers. So, and I know people as young as 9 read this. And it's sort of a matter of the personality of the person reading it. And also, if you are the parent of a person and you are trying to make this decision, I will say what I always say, which is, you know your kid best, and read the book first, and then you are best suited to decide whether it is appropriate for them or not. If you still don't want to do that and you just want to trust my judgment, what I always say is, especially with, say, the San Andreas books, your kids are going to get an education, and it might not be the education that you truly want. But I think it's a very good education, because I put a lot of effort into making certain that my Nookie scenes are well done and represent communication and safety and comfort. And yeah, so, but they will get an education. So just beware of that fact. You may not want them to, at whatever age they are. How long? I do have a breakdown of like sexy times also. Again, this is in the FAQ. To like which books have the highest heat and all that sort of stuff. If that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're interested in. The next question I get is, how long does it take me to write a book? Customarily around 8 months. This most recent book, partly because it is long, but partly because my life has been a series of explosions, has taken me 2 years. So apparently I should say 8 months to 2 years now. But yeah, usually a book, it takes me about 8 months. The shorter the book, I can usually, like a novella, I can write in 6. But then I am somebody who really likes editing and being very meticulous about my editing. So then it will take a little while to get the book back out again, out to you actually, because I want the book to be tidy. I like a tidy, well edited book. So my process is longer than some authors, shorter than others, though. The next question is, why isn't the language, vocabulary, syntax, or spelling the proper British Queen's English? I call this the ladybird issue. For those who do not know, ladybird is the word used for ladybugs in Japan. And this book is rife with the word ladybug because it is the way the the spotted custard looks. It looks like a big ladybird, right? So people ask me why it isn't ladybird in the book. And the answer is, in general, the books are sold to an American house first, and then they subsell the rights to the UK. And so the spelling is dictated by the original house. So especially in this series, which took a long time, this series didn't sell to the UK until Blameless, until the 3rd book. It needed to hit the New York Times first, apparently, before the British would look at it. And so it has it's very American. And that's because the publishing house, has a set of style rules that include the way grammar and spelling is done. And it was an American house. So those are the rules. And then this one was had the same time. So I was publishing with all over the world at the same time with this series. And so the British house it's called Anglicized. So they Anglicized this series. And then this series, we just bypassed in general, and it's all Anglicized except for the word ladybird and like maybe 1 or 2 other words, which would just throw the American audience too far out. They just don't understand the word. So yeah, so there's a couple of changes, but mostly it's more British. So we went from the more American style to the more British style. And, it's just a hodgepodge like everything else in my life. What can I say? One would love if the world were tidy and if one's career were neat, but unfortunately, no matter how OCD, that's not the case. That is not the way the publishing industry works. Okay. Oh, the next question I get a lot is, how did Soulless get its cover? And the answer is, it's not like this for most authors. So I have to preface that. It's really, really rare for an author to have anything to do with their cover, but this cover actually came into existence because of me. And it was accidental. So Orbit had bought the rights to this book. They were going to publish it, but they had never published steampunk before. They didn't know what it was. They had no idea like what to do about it or anything. And so they asked me at the time if I could come up with essentially like a design board or sort of a mood board just to give them some ideas. And I found this image, this exact image, different colors, but this image on LiveJournal back in the day. And I basically just sent them a link to the image. And I was like, this is steampunk. This is sort of what I'm thinking about. And much to my shock and surprise, they went and just bought the rights to the image and put it on the cover. And then, manipulated the background and did a lot of other stuff to it, of course, because it had to become a cover. It was a clothing line. And I actually became very good friends with the woman, and I'm still friends with the woman who is on the cover and who was the owner of the clothing line, named Donna. I got to meet her. She lives down in LA, and she's a delight, and it was charming. And so I had more involvement in my cover than almost any other author ever does. But I think that is in part because steampunk is a very small world, and we're quite friendly people. So that's how the cover came to be. This one I get a lot. Will there be a movie or a television show adaptation or an animation? Currently, my books are what's called out of option, which means they're not under option to any Hollywood houses at all. So no, there will not. They have been optioned. I've been through, 5 or 6 options for the different series and stuff. But no options at the moment. But Yeah, I have a blog post called "An Option Does Not a Movie Make," where I talk about what the optioning process is like. But the answer is, when a book is optioned, that actually really doesn't mean very much. You need the book to and the movie to be in production for it to have any kind of chance or meaning out into the greater world. How do I feel about fan fiction? Okay, I did a whole blog post about this, and you can go read it there. I have very mixed relationships with it, is the short answer, and I cannot read it. So please don't tell me about it for various weird copyright reasons. I will la 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 and pretend it does not exist. That is my feeling on the matter. I am always flattered. I am flattered when my stuff encourages any form of creation, whether it's fan make or cosplay. That is, of course, as an avowed aestheticist, that is, of course, my most greatest delight is to see my characters brought to life by you out in the world. I also love to get little fan makes. My apartment is decorated with "This was made for me by one of you. This was made for me by a reader." Isn't it so cute? I love this kind of thing. I have a vast collection of crocheted octopode. So this is but one of the many. I love them very much. They, like I said, they decorate my whole apartment now. It is delightful, and of course, this is a very treasured little Lilliput. So yeah, this is my cat's or my former cat's fan art. So how cool is that? Someone made fan art for my cat. Delightful, delightful. So yes, I do find fan make in particular absolutely charming. However, it does get into a distinct legal issue if you sell things that are specifically labeled as Gail Carriger parasol verse or what have you. That is a trademark infringement, which is not copyright. It's a whole different set of things. And I usually have to send a cease and desist lawyer for various reasons that have to do with film, amongst other things. But again, if you Google Gail Carriger fan make or fanfic or something along those lines, then the article I wrote should come up, and it basically explains the legal gray area and what's going on and why, unfortunately, I cannot be as positive as I would like to be about some aspects of that. Look at me being judicious. All right. And then how does Gail choose and pronounce the names in her books? Well, if you're lucky enough or unlucky enough, considering my skill set is not in this arena, to hear me read, you'll hear how I pronounce the names. I'm usually not pronouncing them correctly by anybody's standards, except my own. But yeah, specifically for the aliens in the sci-fi series, I actually have a YouTube video out there, which is me pronouncing everything for you, so you can hear it. But I was also pronouncing everything for the narrator, so he could hear it, pronounce them all correctly. So there's that out there. In terms of like why pronunciation is different between audiobooks, it's usually because the narrator didn't ask how it should be pronounced, or didn't care, or didn't think, or didn't know. Sometimes the narrator and me don't know that they're going to mispronounce a word that I think everybody knows how to pronounce it. I felt this way about the name Carriger. I was like, I thought everybody pronounces it Carriger. Turns out, no. There's a lot of people who pronounce it Carriger. Didn't even occur to me that that might be the case. The same thing with the word Marin. I grew up in Marin County, and so I assumed everybody would pronounce Marin, Marin. I did not realize that some people from the East Coast, cough, cough, would pronounce it Marin. I was like, oh, oops. Did not know I should tell the narrator not to pronounce it that way. So sometimes we don't know what we don't know. In general, we hand off a style guide for pronunciation, which is, a pronunciation guide, and hope that we got everything that needs to be pronounced. But that's usually what's going on with slip-ups in pronunciation is miscommunication on the back end. All right. Backing along, let's move along to we're on number 18, everybody. These are questions that I get that are a little bit more you related. I don't know how else to put this. They're sort of fan tangential. So I get asked not as often as I used to contribute to blogs, contests, promo in projects, charities, all this sort of a thing. And the answer is you maybe asking me for the first time, but I get so many of these requests that if I did them all, it would be all I was doing. And that is why I often have to say no to these things. So I have the way I have reconciled myself with this is I have specific charities that I contribute to, or sometimes I will write for charity anthologies, like little shorts or whatever. And that is generally how it goes. And then part of the reason it would take me so long is I feel like, again, this is my academic nature, that I need to do a lot of research on the thing you're asking me about. So because we get so much scams and spams and all that sort of a thing as authors, I have to make sure that you are who you say you are, that you're doing what you say you're doing, that it is a legitimate nonprofit, like all of these things. And if I had to stop and do that for every request I get, like each request would take me a day to just like do the research and figure out what was actually going on. So that is why I'm a little bit leery about that. But I do have certain charities that I work with regularly, and that's because I've taken the time to vet them, among other things. So the other question I get all the time is, will Gail come to my location, my school, my library, or my bookstore? And the answer to that is, I am a vampire and I need to be invited by the institution in question. And there are other factors. Have I been there recently? Do I want to go there? Am I interested in that part of the world? But if I have been there recently, I usually don't return to the same place over and over again. And also, have I done a similar event? So if I'm balancing out events, like I'll usually only do one Comic-Con. I'm not going to do multiple Comic-Cons in one year. That kind of thing. One book festival. I'm not going to do multiple book festivals. So that also plays into me deciding whether to say yay or nay to an event. But the first hurdle is the event itself has to ask me to come. Unfortunately, much as I adore you saying please come to my city of choice does not work as well as the event saying we would like to bring Gail in. So I'm sorry, but it's the truth. What's my educational background? I get this one quite a bit still. I've alluded to a little bit in this live, and I can't imagine there's anybody watching who doesn't know, but I'm a social scientist by training. I'm an archaeologist, so I have a BA in archaeology. Back when I was doing it, you didn't concentrate your BAs, so it was just archaeology. My focus was classical archaeology, but archaeology was the broader category. And then I have a master's degree in anthropology from a US institution, and that is with a focus on technical analysis of inorganic materials, ceramics in particular. And then I have a Master's of Science degree from Nottingham in the UK, and that is in a branch of archaeology called materials archaeology, which is also basically inorganic study, the study of inorganic, so artifact study as opposed to regional study. So that's what my education is. So I've written 2 master's dissertations. They are not written in Gail voice. I'm afraid to say they are both quite dry, but they are out in the world. So yes, my nascent nonfiction career. People ask me whether my personality is similar to Alexia Sophronia's or Rue's, and the answer is a little bit of all of them. There's a bit of me in every character I've ever written. We contain multitudes, us authors. I don't know who I resemble the closest, but I resemble them at different points in my life, and they resemble me. They also resemble my friends, my family, my loved ones. I like to write characters who I like, which means they tend to be informed by the type of person that I love and collect around me. So sure, they're similar to me, but I wouldn't know which one is the most similar to me. You'd have to ask my friends about that. What's my favorite type of tea? My favorite type of tea is still, and it has been for 40 years, a really long time, okay? Twinings 1706 strong. It is an incredibly malty, mild, non-aggressive, not bright, not brisk black tea. And I have it with milk, and I have it with whole milk, and that is how I have it. No sweetener. It is my favorite tea. Thank goodness I can still get it imported at great expense. But yeah, back in the day, 40 years ago, when I would be going to the UK with my mother, we would buy the tea there and then just have a stratigraphic layer of tea in our suitcase that we would bring back to the United States, so that we would have the right tea, because it was very hard tea to get a hold of. It is still not sold to the US market. It still has to be, I have to get it imported from the UK, and it's my favorite tea. And now this question actually sort of came up, which is why I didn't pause to say it. But the last question I get asked the most is, "What about the cat?" And the answer is during the course of my authorial career, I have had two cats. The chubbiest of Fauquois. We don't want to get dinged on YouTube, so I can't say the word that she was called. The chubby effer, shall we say? And then I had Lilyfoot. Both these cats were trained to use the human toilet. I am not a fan of a litter box, so I will take the time to train my cats. And have done so. Lily was also trained to do all sorts of tricks and jump through hoops and stand up on her little back legs and do all sorts of fun things because she was a very trainable cat. She was smart, but also very treat motivated and willing to do the things to entertain the humans. She was very, very social, like a puppy cat. She would run and meet people at the door and everything. She has both of these cats have since passed on. And the answer is I miss her. I miss them both. I miss Lily quite a bit. I miss the little footsteps on me in the middle of the night. I miss having a cat. I've always had cats. So, but I also have had long stretches of time where I've been excavating, or I've been at university, or I've been on my own, where and just living alone for stretches of time where I don't have cats. So I'm also all right without a cat. Don't worry. And I think right now, since my life is still a little unsettled, I still need the opportunity to sort of pick up and move for long periods of time to other parts of the world. And I still want to do that. I want to do that while I still have the capacity and the will to travel. It's easier just not to have a pet right now for me personally, which is why I genuinely love it when you guys share your stories of your pets and you share your images of your pets. I've always been a cat person, but I like dogs too. Don't worry, I like all of them. I like all the pets. I like all of the creatures. It just is. I've always had cats. So yeah, and so right now, no new cat, but I'm not opposed to it, and perhaps in a little while when I'm ready, we will have a new cat to introduce you to. But at the moment, no cat. But I really genuinely love seeing it. Occasionally, the parents, I'll be like, I'm feeling sad. Send me pictures of your cat. I have a bunch of friends who send me pictures of their cats. I love this for me. I love it. I love vicariously living through other people's pets. Makes me very happy because I know they make you so happy. So I take great comfort in that. All right, we have a little bit of time to I'm going to scroll through really quick and see what questions we've got. So I'm going to do YouTube first, and then I'll glance up at Facebook and see if you guys have any questions for me as well. Long version of marine biology, we already talked about that. Some preferences over which version of the books you guys like, whether you like the anglicized version or not. I totally understand. All right, we have a question from YouTube. I tend to not read the handles on YouTube because I don't know how they would read out loud. So someone from YouTube asks, Sanderson wrote 3 novellas with another author about specific supporting characters in a main series. Do you ever think of working with another author to share the load? I have thought about it. I have thought about co-authoring on occasion. I actually, and this was a long time ago, so don't get excited, started the workings of inviting people to write in the universe. I've done this twice. Back in the day, Amazon had something called Amazon Worlds, where you could set up your universe as a world and then other people could just write in it with certain restrictions in place. And I thought that was a great idea. And so I was starting that negotiation, but unfortunately, kind of like a licensing sort of idea, like the Marvel universe. You could write in the Marvel universe, but it would be the Galeverse. But then they shuttered that program. So no chances there. And then I was going to do an anthology where I invited other authors to write things in their style set in my universe. But that also just didn't end up going anywhere. So it's not for lack of trying. To answer your question on a co-author, I don't know. No one's offered. That's part of it. But I do think I'm kind of a bit of a control freak. I know. You're shocked. Which makes it hard for me to let go. And also, I would feel like I would have to edit it a lot. There would still be a lot of work involved. But I'm not opposed to the idea. I hadn't thought of it in a while, but you're right. It would be a way to keep stories going out into the world in these universes. So yeah, I'm not against it. The way some authors are, very much not. So. Oh, somebody's very very nice things about the fact that I have the same favorite tea for over 40 years. And thank you. Oh, you're right. I am not a day over 38. You're absolutely right. A fashion question. Do I get these hair wraps from anywhere in special? No, I just get them off Amazon. I know, but where else do you go? I have really struggled to find like stores that I could buy them from, partly because I have the most sensitive skin. I'm like such a sensitive little bean. So it has to be like really soft and breathable and like all of these things. And it has to be in a color I like. So yeah, these are a rayon viscose blend, and I actually really like them. I know that's not a natural fiber, but they're like very soft. So this is my current favorite. But yeah, I just get them wherever I can is the answer, and it's usually the Great Zon, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, I've quite the collection now. And I'm always like, oh no, I feel the need to find a new head wrap. What will I do? But I buy, they make them for chemo in general. That's like the search term. And so sometimes they can be quite soft, which they frankly all should be quite soft if they're selling them to chemo patients. But Amazon. All right. It looks like no other questions there. So let me just. Sue has a question from Facebook. When I'm working on a story, how much research do I do, especially like going from the Parasol versus Tinker Stars or whatever? That is a very good question, and it is a question I get a lot. So excellent. We are ending this video on an up note. The answer is a lot. I would say I spend as much time writing as I do researching. So the same amount of hours that I'm like clicking on the story, I'm actually reading whatever it is I'm researching. Sometimes it's called rabbit holing amongst us authors. Sometimes I rabbit hole hard into an arena where I have to pull myself back, like the Tinkered Star Song stuff. K-pop just like took over my life for ages, and it didn't need to. I didn't need to know that much about K-pop, but I had to know it all, right? And so that will delay matters. When I'm working on the Parasol verse book, it's way less now because I tend to have a really good idea of like what I need to know or what I have to research, and then just like tunnel into that. So I'll spend like a couple hours writing, and then I'll spend a couple hours researching because I know I need like a natural disaster that took place during this time period in this general part of the world. And then I'll go to tunneling in and see all of the different natural disasters and the different weather reports and the thises and the that's, and then whether my characters could get there in time, all that sort of a thing. So yeah, I try to do the research that is really necessary for the plot, moving my characters through time and space, and then other stuff like what color dress do I want her wearing in this scene? I will do something called TK. So I'll put the letters T and K, and I'll be like, come back later, fill in the dress, or come back later, figure out whether the syringe had been invented and what they called it in the Victorian era, that kind of thing. So those sorts of bits of research, I actually write past them, and future me is going to have to figure it out later. Sometimes future me gets very mad at past me for leaving way too much work for her to do. But yeah, so yeah, the answer is probably about 50-50, which I know is a lot, but this is I do try. I think I'm compelled because I'm a former academic. Like I do feel compelled to try to make it as accurate to the time period as possible, even though I am writing with werewolves and silliness, and ridiculous dirigibles going on. I am trying to make sort of the historical events and the stuff actually coincide with what really happened. So I call it like putting touchstones into the book. So like if you know anything about the Yellow River flood of 1887, you'll be really excited about this scene. And also maybe I'm teaching you a little bit about like one of the greatest natural disasters in human history that you probably don't know about. you know so like I try to like tread this fine line of making sure it stays entertaining, but there's a little bit of informative, and there's a little bit of like, yes, I did my homework. I did, I promise. So I try to it's a balance, And sometimes I like the research a lot. I really do. I really love history. I love learning about the past. So I do get distracted occasionally. There's a reason I used to be an archaeologist, everybody, and it's that reason has never gone away. Um, and on that note, thank you all so much for showing up for the live today and asking me such delightful questions and listening to me yap on about the questions I get asked the most. I wonder if any of them surprised you that I get asked them a lot. So I'm curious about that. I'll go back in, make sure the notes are all accurate to the things I touched on, but this all came from the FAQ page on my website. And so that basically has links to everything that I mentioned if you would like to read anything or investigate anything further. And I will see you all at the next live. I cannot remember whether I am in town. I think I am not in August. I think I am at Worldcon. So I don't think we have a live next month. I don't know for sure, but I hope to see some of you. Oh no, we do. We do have a live next month. It's an early month. So I'm not. I'm here. So the 8th of August will be the next live. And I hope to see you then. We'll figure out what we're going to talk about. Please leave a comment if you have thoughts on a topic that you'd like me to cover in depth. But you can always show up and just ask whatever questions you have. It has been a delight. Eat something tasty for me, drink some lovely, lovely tea, and I will talk to you all next time.